The industry has changed a lot in the last few years. What would you say is the biggest shift you've noticed?
I think there's a current shift that's happening. Um, talking to industry leaders as well, the past week or two, it's been mentioned specifically they didn't know that there's so much TMS or transport management systems and software available in the market. There, there's a big shift to start to digitize. We definitely see it across the industry. Companies are starting to get interested in it. They're starting to realize the benefits of it. And with the big banks and the CSIR and the Transport Forum pushing RTMS to really implement proper processes and measurement so that not only the drivers and the trucks are more safe on the roads, but also managing their businesses better. There's a big drive to be better. And digitization is playing a very big role in that. And we definitely see, we always felt that the transport industry are behind. Lots of other industries already started digitizing many years ago, but transport is behind. But we're starting to see that they're starting to pick up. They're starting to understand the value of digitization, the value of software that helps with their process flows. And we're seeing that shift happening, definitely.
We hear a lot about technology transformation in the way fleets operate. For example, telematics, a camera being in every truck on the road these days. What do you think is the most exciting opportunity right now for transport businesses or in the industry in general?
I think there's an interesting trend that we also picked up is that telematics been in the available for a long time, and I think probably 90% of truck companies use telematics to know where their trucks are, and there's so much you can do with it, from driver behavior to diesel management and all so on. But I think the exciting part is that they're starting to realize that to know where your truck is not good enough. You need to know, how do I task my truck and where will it be tomorrow and in 3 days' time and where should it be? Now, telematics not designed to do that. And that's where we come in. That's where workflow systems come in to make it easier to manage your process before your truck even leaves the yard. And that's the exciting part that I think businesses are starting to realize and start to implement in their businesses. So it's an extension in a certain degree of telematics. And I think telematics and these TMS systems should actually still work together. They should share data, because then your measurements just on the next level, which you can use to tweak your business to be better.
So, what I also wanted to ask is, what's one piece of tech you think the industry still needs, but doesn't have yet? But I think this, what you just described, what INControl does, is probably that gap.
That is correct. That is correct. And I think the other one I'd like to mention is maybe upgrading what happens in the truck cabin. And what I mean by that is giving the tools to the truck drivers to be able to, like for instance, a tablet. And it doesn't have to be a 10-inch tablet. I think the what we've found is an 8-inch tablet actually works perfectly. Giving them the tool in the truck to receive the information, to help them with their route optimization, to be able to make it a tool to get sign-offs, to take pictures, and really giving your truck drivers the tools so that they can do their job even better. The thing is, what we saw, and I think it's about now 5 years ago, we saw the shift happening from truck drivers only having paperwork in their trucks. We came in and said, but listen, there's another way. We can do it with tablets. Lots of resistance. They will, truck drivers are not. They are drivers. They don't want to work with technology and all those type of things. And about 5 years ago, we started to see the shift, because when we implemented, the initial implementations wasn't with tablets. It was on the phones of the actual truck drivers. And what happened was truck drivers had smartphones. Uh, and that made a big difference. When we did the training, and there was lots of resistance, hey, this is not going to work, the truck drivers will struggle to use this. When we did the training, the truck drivers looked at the INControl app and they said, oh, it's just another app. I know how to work apps. And they just got their training on this is where you click, this is how you get your jobs, this is how you sign off your jobs, and this is how you send your job back. And it was actually seamless. And I think that's evolved over 5 years so much more that truck drivers are starting to get used to use smartphones, to use apps, and we just need to now get the technology into the truck and really start to develop the potential that could be happening in there.
That's exciting.
It's very
Um,
exciting, for sure.
so, RTMS being the buzzword, I need to ask about it. RTMS compliance is clearly valuable, but for many SME owners who are still hands on with operations, it can feel like just another time consuming cost. How do you think smaller businesses can balance the effort of staying compliant while keeping their focus on running their fleets on a day-to-day basis?
Very good question. I think the misconception is RTMS is something you have to do to be compliant, and that's the end result and the goal. That is the misconception. That's the mistake. No, RTMS is making your business better. It will make you start to understand I've got to measure things. I've got to manage my tires. I've got to manage my diesel. I've got to manage my trucks. I've got to make sure that my maintenance is in place. Because why do they call it transport? Is because my trucks are breaking everywhere, because my maintenance schedules are not up to date. Nobody's measuring it properly and it's not being maintained. So my truck will break down or my tire will blow on the road and then I've got problems. But RTMS is all about measuring the right things, giving you the tools and what to measure so that your business is running better, so that it doesn't break down, so that you don't have less tears. That's what it's all about. So it's a misconception. It's not about compliance. It's about making your business better. And that's what owners of transport companies need to buy into. Just coming back, where should you start? Now, from a small business perspective, if you are a startup with 5, 10, 15 trucks, don't start with a full RTMS compliance. Start with your shipment process. Make sure your shipment process, your communication of your quoting process, your scheduling of your truck drivers, getting the information back, invoicing fast. Get that in place because that's the core of your business. And when that is in place, then you start to add your workshop. And I'm not talking about necessarily at this stage workshop from the details of the maintenance, but making sure you have all your assets in the system with reminders of when should every truck be maintained or get a maintenance or be booked in for maintenance. When you've got that sorted and you know your trucks are maintained at the right time, at the right kilometers and so on, then you get into the next one and you start to measure your tires. And then you start to measure for instance, your truck drivers, that they're not overworked and driving too many hours. So RTMS, I would suggest from a small business perspective, you start small and you start to add the different measurements as your business is growing, but as you can start to manage it and handle it as well. So it's something that you slowly implement in your business. That's the way I see how you start RTMS, but the value is massive. RTMS, if you do that, not about RTMS, it's about the processes in business will make you successful as a transport owner.
What's one thing you see transport businesses doing that makes you think there's got to be a better way to handle this?
Paperwork, WhatsApps, phone calls. I mean, if there's one thing about a transport controller or manager that I've seen is they all have a white spot on the side of their faces because that's where their phones fit. They don't get tan there. They're always on the phone. They're trying to just figure out Where's my trucks? Has the job been done? How do I get the paperwork back? That is chaos. And if there's one thing I would really like them to focus on is, listen, get my shipment process automated, implement it, get it automated. I don't have to struggle to get information anymore. I can invoice faster. My clients will be happier. My truck drivers will know exactly what to do. And I'll know where my business stands. I know how much business has been done. I know how much I've invoiced for the month. Just do that, and you'll see what happens. Just do that. Just take that leap. It feels like a big leap, but it actually isn't for truck owners. But that'll make a massive difference in your business.
So you'll say that's one simple fix you'll suggest to solve many industry inefficiencies.
That's right. That's right. And it's so sometimes I'm amazed how a, a truck company that wants, they need to take that leap. They're already on 15, 20 trucks. They're starting to lose control. Um, and then they say they're not willing to spend 5,000 Rand a month to put a TMS in. And then I think, you know, just invest. Just invest that 5,000 Rand. You'll pay it back within 3, 4 months. There's no question. And then you'll start to make money. Um, but that's just, lots of times they're just holding themselves back.
If you could look ahead 5 or 10 years, what big changes do you think will define the future of the transport industry? How do you see technology shaping the role of transport managers?
Well, I think in South Africa, I've got to mention something else. I think in the next 5 to 10 years, and it might be a little bit controversial, which I'm going to say now, um, is there's a big drive in South Africa to get rail to work properly again. And from economy point of view and what's good for the country, I think it's very important to get it going again. So I think what's going to happen in the next 5 to 10 years is rail will start to get better. They're going to start to use it again. And I think the change for transporters would be, how do we adapt to this change? Because it's not ever going to take normal road transport away. That'll always be there. But how it works together with rail is where the challenge will lie. And I think that's coming. Lots of people are obviously resisting it and think it's not going to be, or we've got to stop this. But I think it's coming, and I think it's a good thing for the country. But road freight and transporters will need to just adapt to the new environment. And the first ones that adapts and say, but how do we adapt and make it work for us, are the ones that's going to be successful. If you ignore it and say I'm not going to work with rail, then obviously you're going to struggle over time. I think that's the one side. And then hopefully on the other side is that transporters really start to digitize, start to professionalize their businesses. I think it is happening already. Transport industry are really starting to looking at it and implementing it. There's many TMS systems out there that focuses on certain areas. And I think transport will go to the next level within the next 5 years. It's starting to happen already.
So you published a sales book 18 years ago. If you were to write another book, what would it be about? Would it still be sales or something completely different?
You know what? There's a book that was always somewhere in my head. It was about first line management, and what first line management should focus on, and how to coach and how to develop your people and how to set goals and so on. I think that was always there. Um, but I think if I would write one today, it would be even a higher level. Is how does CEOs and owners of businesses, how do they take their business to the next level? because that's one of the biggest lessons I've learned in business. My parents weren't business people. I had to learn it on the ground. I had to learn it from other people. And if that book would be about one thing, would be about the biggest lesson I've learned: how to extract yourself from operations and start to work on your business. My book would be about that.
I think that'll be a great read. Yeah.
Yeah, to write a book is not that easy and that simple. It's many years investment to do
Yeah.
something like that. But maybe one day I'll do it. But there are good companies that actually focuses on that to help businesses do that. We've had consultants coming into our business to help us, and it made a massive difference to our business.
So, just a last quick question. What's your favorite productivity hack, especially working from home? I think that's quite needed.
You know what I found and what works for me currently, or yeah, for a while now, is identifying which part of a day is your most productive time or times. And I'd like to mention two things. That's the first thing, is to understand when are you the most productive. And for myself, I realized that I'm the most productive in the early mornings. So I can set my objectives the previous day. That's what I've got to achieve the next day or the next week, and work on that first. And that I have my meetings, I shift my meetings to the afternoons when I'm actually less productive, because then I can engage with people and I can implement the thinking that's already been done. Okay, so that's the first one, is the knowing when I, as a person, is most productive and focusing the most important work in those times. The second one is giving myself time to think. I actually book out about 2 hours per week for myself, where I get out of my office, away from my technology, away from Teams, away from everything, and I only have a little black book in front of me that my kids actually gave to me, and it's called Big Ideas. and and that's where I think and I write about my business. I normally go to a coffee shop where nobody will, and the only person that talks to me is wanting to bring me coffee, and that's a good thing. And I spend time just thinking. And it's what I found was, firstly, lots of ideas coming from there. But what I also saw, because obviously I write down, these are the ideas, and I've got to go and implement these ideas. But if I go back in my little black book and I go back to, say, 2, 3, 4 months, what's really encouraging is I've achieved every goal that I wrote down for myself. Every new thing that I said I should be doing, if I go back, I've seen that it's actually been achieved. We've done it. We one step further. And that's a hack that really works. You've got to give yourself time as a business owner to think.
Mm.
Think about, how do I take my business forward? Have a discipline of thinking at least 2 hours a week. For me, it made a massive difference.
Thank you, Cobus. It has been lovely speaking to you. I think there's been really great insights, and I think it's going to be an interesting first episode. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure to be part of your podcast. Thank you very much.